You're 60 years old, married, and retired, and you've accumulated $1 million in your 401k. Now, the question we're going to look at today is, should we convert all of that $1 million to from a 401k to a Roth position? Stay with us and find out. Hello, my name is John Vandergriff. I'm one of the owners and wealth planning team lead here at Blue Ridge Wealth Planners, where we help people make the transition from working years to their retirement years effectively and make sure that we are not missing anything as it comes to the topics that need to be planned for. And when we sit down with people consistently, one of the things that we see often get overlooked is the area of tax planning. And so what we're going to look at today is a specific example of some moves that could be made, especially to the benefit of someone's situation. And so as we dig into that today, you're going to see a link below where if you've not been able to benefit from tax planning conversations to this point, we would invite you to come and talk to us, see if we could help you in that regard, and really work that into a total plan for your future, not just focused on taxes, but how that fits into the complete picture there. But also, as we look at this, I'd like to caution you a little bit and say this is going to be a specific situation that we have seen very similar to this, but this may not be exactly your situation. So make sure before you move on anything tax planning wise, you have all the information about your situation at your disposal. Contact your CPA, work with a tax planner so that you're not missing anything in these decisions. So with that being said, 60-year-old married couple, retired, with $1 million in their 401k, should I convert all of this money to a Roth? And so what we're going to look at here is probably not doing all of this in 1 year, but we are assuming a few things here where we have 3 years left in the current tax code that we're in. So really assuming that without major changes in that tax code over the next 3 years, can we convert this entire $1 million bucket during that 3-year window? I think the answer is yes. It's just, is that a good decision? So as we look at it, as we mentioned, tax planning is a part of an overall plan that's driven primarily by the goals and objectives that you have, and then all of these things are built on top of that. And so what we're going to tie together today is really the income and tax conversation, but really all of these need to be a part of the conversation and working together for the best interest of a particular family. And so what we're looking at here is a married couple that are in a unique situation. They are retiring early at 60. So they're not eligible for Social Security yet, so they have no Social Security income. Their plan is to take at full retirement age. They also will have a pension that kicks on at 65, and so their income need right now is $60,000 a year. And so the strategy that we're going to look at today is how can we convert this $1 million of 401ks, utilize this $600,000 that's in non-qualified for lifestyle and possibly paying some of the taxes on this money so that we can get hopefully as much of this tax deferred burden behind them before these income sources start and give them almost $100,000 of income in perpetuity. So as we look at this, digging into kind of our plan for everything conversation here, their annual income need is $60,000 there as a percentage of their overall need, especially when you factor in their future income sources that we didn't write here, but a little over $8,000 of income. Income's not an issue for them, but what we see is that because they're not eligible for Social Security yet, they don't have that pension, they actually have the option to not show really any annual income outside of interest that's accumulated on their non-qualified money. So as we look at it, they have an ability to have their current top tax rate be at 0, which will be a pretty unique situation for them, especially moving forward, because once they have Social Security and pension income, even if they didn't have RMDs on this money, they're going to be locked in for $100,000 of income the rest of their lives. So as we look at it, trying to migrate this $1 million down, hopefully into this tax-free bucket, is really the conversation we're looking at today. Because currently they have 0 monies in the Roth position, and so trying to get this into something where they don't have the tax burden they have to worry about on those pre-tax monies moving forward. So as we look at that, this brings up a conversation that we have all the time with people, just trying to understand the mechanics of what goes into conversions like this from a traditional tax-deferred position like a 401k or IRA converting that money over to a Roth, whether it's a 401k or an IRA. And so the questions that we need to look at, quite simply, are do we leave it alone versus do we do something about it? So as we look at this example, obviously if we leave it alone in the 401k, that $100,000 will remain as is. If we convert it over, that will add $100,000 of taxable income to this person's situation. And so as we look at this situation with them having zero income, it would make it seem like they had $100,000 of income. The good news today is that $100,000 would only be taxed at most at 12%, which means for them they would be in a position where they would have $12,000 come out for taxes, $88,000 would be the total that they have. And so, we look at that. Most people, when they get this far in the conversation, they're discouraged from doing this because they say, well, see, you've lost $12,000. You're going to have less growth because the market's going to grow your money faster by making this conversion over, instead of realizing you may have a good opportunity to pay a lower tax today, but we'll get to that point later. So some people will discourage this because they'll say you're going to make less money by doing this conversion over, without realizing that we're not looking at the same brackets. This is tax-free, this is taxable. So we've got to play this story out and see, based on certain situation here, which actually does turn out to be the best situation for you. So as we look at it with the Roth side, if it was to invest the same way as the 401k for the same length of time, that way our variables are about taxes more than anything else. The Roth account doubles to $176. The IRA doubles, or the 401k doubles to $200. And so, person gave you advice not to convert, says, see, I'm right, you make more money. Well, it depends on where your taxes are later. So as we look at this, because the Roth is structured in such a way where as long as it's been in place for 5 years, not only have you accumulated tax-free, but your withdrawals are fully tax-free no matter what amount you pull out. So you could get to the full 176. As we look at this, we have to look and see what will the tax rate be on this 200, especially considering that this particular family is going to have pension and Social Security income that any of these distributions are going to come out on top of. And if they choose to do nothing, they're forced to take distributions out at age 73, or for them will actually be age 75, because that will be more than 10 years into the future. So what's interesting here is if the taxes never changed, it actually does not matter which of these decisions that you make, because you would end up having, at the end of the day, the same amount of money on the bottom line in both scenarios. So this is truly a situation where we're trying to game the system, so to speak, and pay the least amount of taxes whenever we can. And so when we look at this, most of the time we've been trained to approach retirement conversations where the lowest tax environment that someone will come across will actually be in their retirement years. And if that was the case, your taxes went down from the 12% to the 10% bracket, you would have more money staying in the route of the 401k as opposed to moving that money into a Roth. For most of the people we talk to, and especially in this particular situation though, I don't think that's likely, because with the government in a financial position where, spending too much money, large amounts of debt, would not surprise me at all if this particular couple had a situation where their income possibly, or the taxes possibly doubled on them versus where they could pay some of those tax rates at today. So looking at that, if that was the case and taxes went up, obviously you end up having less money in the 401k as opposed to making that decision now, which is really what we're after. When can we find the lowest time to pay taxes? So as we look at it, again, this shows the tax brackets for a married couple. So currently at 0, even if you factor in pension and Social Security income, they would tap out at the 12% bracket in today's numbers. As we look at that versus where it would be later, their tax rate would be in the 15% bracket, and almost assuredly when RMD's added, that would force them into the 25% tax bracket, which these are the 2017 brackets, which will be, if nothing changes, the situation January 1st of 2026. And then to give a little bit of perspective, 1981 is the last time that taxes were significantly higher, with a top bracket at 70 versus 37% like it is today. And so for them, having over $100,000 of income, their RMDs most likely would start at 28% and then go up from there. I'm going to show you where, based on this situation today, they could actually have an effective tax rate of much less than that. So again, what we're looking at on how much to convert is really getting this couple to maximize the 24% tax bracket. And the reason we're doing that is twofold, because obviously we feel like that will give them an overall effective tax rate, which we'll highlight, that's pretty low. But also, if they get on it and they do it in their age 60, 61, and 62 birth year tax years, they avoid having to worry about the Medicare conversation that affects their IRMA payments and different things moving forward. So really, this gets a big bulk of their savings moved from traditional to Roth without having to worry about the Medicare side of things. So as we look at it, with them having essentially no income, they would get $27,000 taxed at zero. That accounts for the standard deduction. And then here we got $22,000 at 10%, $67,000 at 12%, $101,000 at 22%, and then $173,000 is the 24%. This is the tax rate, so that's the total tax bill, written very unneatly, $74,208 off of that. Equates to an effective tax rate of 18.9%. So again, we're accounting for a little bit of growth here so that if this money that's in the 401k does go up a little bit, you still are able to, over the next 3 years, convert that. Maybe having a lower overall tax that you would have on the third year, since they may not have 391 times 3, that'd be almost $1.2 million at the end of the day. But this gives them enough room to where they're maximizing the situation today and really putting themselves in a pretty good position historically, because if they could get this entire tax bill paid at 20% or less, I think that's a steal, especially with where taxes could go with a high level of income that they're going to have later. So again, by being strategic, we're able to take income from one place, forego Social Security a little longer, but then also make sure that we're maximizing some of the brackets that we look at. So as we look at this, if someone's not had at least this much of a conversation with you about tax planning, truth is they may not ever have it with you, because we've not really had as good of an opportunity for tax planning as we've had during the tax cuts that went into effect in 2018. So as we look at this, seeing if some of these decisions make sense for you is something that I would recommend every person that we talk to investigate. So your opportunities, if you click the link on this video, we'd be happy to either have a phone call with you, a virtual meeting, or we can sit down with you if you're within driving distance of East Tennessee, and see if some of these options could be beneficial to you and helping you make some good decisions here. So with that being said, hopefully you like the content today. Make sure that you like and share this video with other people. If you do have feedback, feel free to leave us some comments. We'll get back to you, or maybe add some of that into our future videos. But more than anything, we want you to see if some of these moves could make sense, because at the end of the day, it's not what you make, it's how much of it you keep that really matters in the grand scheme of things. And the more you keep, the more you can hopefully enjoy those retirement years that you have. So with that being said, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you learned something today, and stick with us and see what new content we have in store for you in the future.